What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new Obi-Wan Kenobi review, ladies and gentlemen. So we're about to go ahead and get into episode number 5 for you guys today. Thank you very much for certainly joining me here today, live streaming over on our YouTube channel, over on Facebook, as well as Twitter today as also, guys. So thank you very much for certainly coming through. Look, first and foremost, let me get this out of the way. I apologize that I was not able to do this live earlier today around 1 o'clock. While I certainly was off of work, I had a pretty busy day ahead of me. Had to go drive an hour and a half, almost to go ahead and pick up a car for myself, come back battling traffic. It was definitely a very busy day, to certainly say the least. But we're here, and trust me when I say, with episode 5, I could not wait any longer to go ahead and talk about this. There was no way I was going to go ahead and push this review over to Friday with everything that we certainly had happen in this particular episode, man. This floored me. This was by far my favorite episode of the entire season. This is Deborah Chow at an A+, to be perfectly honest with you guys. I think she crushed this episode, and it's just funny to me because at episode 4, I kind of gave her some crap in regards to maybe some, shot selections and some of her directorial work and things like that. But man, did she come back in episode number 5 and just slap me upside the head in regards to showcasing what she can truly do. I mean, the great parallels that we had in regards to storytelling and just putting the pieces together of seeing flashback sequences, which, listen, if you guys have been following me for A+ Hero Report or my other YouTube channels, one of the other things I've always said, I love flashbacks. For me, it's just a fantastic way to go ahead and continue to build the world and, build up the lore a little bit more, if you will, really having some great connective tissue. So to kind of see the parallels of what was happening between Obi-Wan and Anakin in the past, and then currently, I thought was fantastic. It almost felt like a chess match a little bit, right? Each person trying to figure out what the other one is certainly doing. Clearly, Vader thinking he's got the advantage. Obi-Wan trying to think his way through the situation, if you will, maybe even luring Vader into a little bit of a trap of his own, if you will. So just the mind games and just the parallels that we got to see, like the flashback sequences just came at just the perfect time when it comes to telling this particular story. So yeah, man, shout out to Deborah Chow for an amazing episode in here, along with even some of the great the writing. The writing in here was actually relatively strong, and I definitely had my issues with it a little bit in last week's, but this definitely corrected the course, to certainly say the least, man. But great flashbacks between Obi-Wan and Anakin, clearly still using that DH tech. This one felt like, when it comes to Hayden Christensen, I feel like even with the de-aging, he still kind of comes across as a little bit older than what I kind of expected him during his time from Attack of the Clones, because that's what this feels like. This feels very much like even before we get to Attack of the Clones, like maybe some time period between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, because I believe he references him still as a Padawan. So Homeboy's not even a Jedi Knight at that particular point in time. So I'm kind of curious when that flashback winds up taking place. But I thought it worked really well in regards to being a fantastic parallel for whatever happens to this particular episode. And trust me when I say that's not the only flashback that we get in here. One of the things that I loved about this episode too, is when we learn a little bit more about Riva, getting to see more flashback sequences of the Jedi Temple, of Order 66. One of the memorable moments from Revenge of the Sith that people continue to replay in their heads all the time is when Anakin Skywalker comes through, right? Master Skywalker, what do we do? Whatever the little kid says, right? And Homeboy just literally activates his lightsaber, and they don't show anything, but, leave it up to your imagination, to certainly say the least. Just some brutal and horrific stuff that Anakin Skywalker did during Order 66. And to see that again, to see that unfold, like, I can see why they put the disclaimer at the beginning of this particular episode, in the sense of like, hey, some images may be a little bit disturbing, right? So shout out to the whole entire crew for tackling that particular subject matter from Revenge of the Sith and allowing us to see what they certainly will allow us to without going a little bit too over the top. But great stuff overall, and it was really great to finally see Hayden Christensen back, his actual face, not necessarily just behind the Vader mask, if you will. So it was really cool to go ahead and get his presence here in this particular week's episode. So yeah, man, Deborah Chow was on her game. I even thought the Siege of Jabiim in here was actually pretty intense. The idea of waves of stormtroopers kind of coming in, it felt very much like an old school battle, if you will, in the sense of like American Revolution, or like when you're literally out on the battlefield and you're just rushing towards each other, right? Just the bodies all inside that big pile of battling that's certainly going on. I almost got little even hints of like Attack of the Clones when we had the big, everybody's just shooting their lasers back and forth, right? The robots along with the clones and stuff. So I thought she handled this Siege of Jabiim extremely well. And I even liked the handheld camera that they had. Definitely a little bit of a shaky action certainly going on. Made you feel like you were literally right in the battle, to the point where it was almost kind of claustrophobic, because everything was just like so tight and so closed in. Seeing those stormtroopers kind of rush up on people, even Obi-Wan from time to time, him literally trying to hold them back with the lightsaber. Yeah, man, first off, if I see a Jedi with a lightsaber, that's just sacrificing myself. Nah. I'm staying in the back of the line shooting. I'm like, I'm not rushing this Jedi. Like, there's no way. That's, you're going to die. You're literally sacrificing yourself for the other stormtroopers. So no, I would never do that. But again, I thought the battle was handled extremely well. Very intense, to certainly say the least. And one of the other aspects about this episode that I love too, the Grand Inquisitor returns, right? Finally answering some questions that we certainly had in regards to canon. Glad to see that they are certainly clearly paying attention. And that's not the only thing in regards to canon that they finally clarified, at least for me. I am kind of curious to know what you guys think, and we'll definitely get to it. But the Grand Inquisitor certainly returns in here to go ahead and show that he survived. I love the idea that he points out that revenge, though, right, provides the will to live. If anybody knows anything about that, it's certainly Anakin Skywalker. So it definitely makes sense that this Grand Inquisitor is his right-hand man through all of this. So he survives, and he's definitely continuing to take that place next to Darth Vader in here. So it's really great to see that canon was not destroyed. But look, let's go into some character details here in a little bit, right? Because overall, while I love this episode, man, the characters and the way that they were portrayed in here was extremely strong. Like for me, I love the aspect that this episode begins with the flashback between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and my mind immediately went to, oh, this is an Obi-Wan memory. But when we cut away from the flashback and we see present day, it's Vader. It's Vader reminiscing. I love that they kind of pulled that swerve a little bit, getting the opportunity to finally see Obi-Wan and Anakin utilize some of their lightsaber techniques as they're doing some training and things like that. I definitely did not expect it to certainly be Vader in here. He even appoints Reva for doing such an incredible job as his Grand Inquisitor for all the hard work that she's currently put in. I mean, goodness, she wind up being able to locate Obi-Wan, and she winds up sending Riva and reinforcements down to Jabiim to go ahead and break into the safe house that we wind up having. I will say this in regards to the Vader storyline that we wind up having in here. First off, the fact that Homeboy literally pulled a spaceship out of the air, I feel like that's something as a Star Wars fan we've been really wanting to see in live action for such a long time. I feel like it's been done in maybe video games before. Like, we always knew that Vader was certainly capable of this, but to literally see him with his hatred and just literally knowing that Obi-Wan Kenobi is in his grasps and trying to pull down the ship, man, just incredible stuff to certainly see how he wind up putting this together. But he winds up really falling into the trap that Obi-Wan sort of sets up for him in here. And it does wind up bringing an encounter finally between him and Riva. But what I will say here is getting the opportunity to see Obi-Wan and them actually escape because they have a secondary ship. After he brings the ship down and he literally just rips the side of it off, trying to go ahead and find Obi-Wan. And just as he does, Obi-Wan takes off. when we get that particular moment, there is the line that Obi-Wan said a long time ago in A New Hope, where he says, I was but the learner, now I am the master, right? And to see Obi-Wan still besting him here in this episode, and then even the flashback that we wind up having, because again, they did great parallels of just back and forth for showing how both of these moments certainly matter. Obi-Wan always warning him that he needs to prove himself is Anakin's undoing. The fact that Anakin is always so brash and head first, and he's always determined to win, if you will. Obi-Wan really uses that against him. And he even tells him, until you overcome it, a Padawan you still will be, or you will still be. He was a Padawan then, and he clearly didn't learn his lesson in this episode, and he's a Padawan now. And so I do think the idea of, well, first off, this may in fact be their last encounter. I don't know if we're going to see Obi-Wan and Darth Vader again on screen. I have a feeling a lot of that is the final episode will probably be more Riva and Obi-Wan, but I could be wrong. If they were to go ahead and leave this Darth Vader and Obi-Wan situation, like no longer encountering everybody, no longer encountering each other, then I do think that line from A New Hope definitely does ring true. I was but the learner, now I am the master. And yeah, you were definitely a learner. You learned a lesson. You learned a lesson from the escape of Jabiim here, and really working into his plan. So Obi-Wan clearly still knows his Padawan, or his Anakin Skywalker, better than maybe Anakin certainly knows himself, and definitely bested him once again in here. So for me, listen, the two things that I was worried about original trilogy wise, well, canon wise, I should say, that particular line, and then of course the I just had it. What was I just talking about a second ago? The Grand Inquisitor stuff from Rebels. So I'm really glad to see that they wind up keeping that all together. But the Riva versus Darth Vader battle in here, I was not expecting at all. It was an incredible battle. I mean, the fact that Vader literally is toying with her, not even putting up any defense, just kind of moving out of the way whenever it comes, lifting his leg if he needs to, you literally using his force to kind of stop the blades from connecting with him and pushing her back. I mean, the guy's just toying with her. She whips out the lightsaber. He even breaks the lightsaber, gives her one, like, come on, kid, let's play. And still bests her to the point of literally, well, I was going to say literally killing her, but he doesn't. He winds up actually impaling her with the lightsaber. Come on, guys, like, what's that? Like, I get the impaling, but like, can we get an impale and a slash, or like a decapitation or something? I mean, these people are just surviving these little lightsaber blunts, and I'm like, where's Qui-Gon? Qui-Gon got a lightsaber to the freaking gut too, and he managed to kind of walk away as well. But maybe it is the idea of revenge and hatred to really keep these Inquisitors and these Darksiders certainly going. Because yeah, these lightsabers definitely are not stopping anybody at this point in time. But I thought it was a marvelous, marvelous battle. He's pretty much done with her, has absolutely no use for her. And I thought it was actually pretty interesting that he happened to remember exactly who she was from the past. The idea of, hey, you're not besting me here. Do you think that you were going to get the best of me? Nah, definitely is not happening whatsoever. So great stuff, man. And listen, it is one of those things where I heard people even going into episode 5, like, man, I think this is going to be, a redemption story for Reva. And look, we've got one more episode. Could there be a redemption story for her? Possibly. Who certainly knows? But the idea here that she winds up facing off against Vader, clearly some animosity there, to certainly say the least, which we come to find out from her revelation in here, which was a great revelation. And this is something that we certainly called from episode 1. So I'm glad that it wind up actually coming full circle. But I really love the moment that we wind up having between Obi-Wan and Riva, as we get to see Jabiim and them trying to hold themselves back inside of the base, right? Putting up all the barricades, closing all the doors, while the stormtroopers and the siege certainly starts to begin. But before it does, a little bit of a negotiation process there. And I love the moment between Obi-Wan and Riva as he winds up putting the pieces together, if you will, recognizing that Riva mentions that Vader is in fact Anakin. I think that was like back in episode 2, if I'm not mistaken. And that's something that Obi-Wan certainly picks up on. And because of the fact that she knows who Vader is, and that's not something that Vader is easily going to go ahead and give up, it has to mean that she was probably at the temple, or at least knew who Anakin certainly was. So she had to be a youngling at some point in time. And so, yeah, great connective pieces to Order 66 once again in here. And just a great performance by Moses Ingram, man. Like, I've been so incredibly pleased with her performance, especially in this episode where, you have Obi-Wan who's continuing to push the subject, and she's very reluctant to talk about it. She doesn't want to hear about it. And she's just like, enough. Like, she just can't take it anymore. And I thought she did an incredible performance. And I know some people have probably look, it's no secret she's been getting bashed on Twitter by a bunch of racist assholes when it comes to the toxic fandom. And I'm sure there's some people who naturally just don't like maybe the Riva character because maybe they don't think she's that well written. For me, I think she's incredibly well written, honestly. And I think that Moses Ingram has really brought her to life and really created a brand new character in Star Wars that I think people can really appreciate in regards to their involvement and their place in the Star Wars universe. So I really love that moment between those two, as we come to find out that while she certainly has some animosity and some feelings towards Obi-Wan Kenobi, the idea of why weren't you there? Why didn't you protect us? Definitely makes sense as to why she certainly would want to go ahead and chop him down. But the idea also that she's doing all of this because she's also trying to get revenge on Darth Vader, I think is like just the most meta thing when it comes to being a Sith Lord. Like, when you are a Sith Lord, you just can't trust anybody. Like, you always got to have eyes in the back of your head to make sure that nobody's out to certainly get you, or you're trying to kill somebody to certainly take their power or certainly take their place. And when it comes to revenge, man, this has clearly been boiling over for Reva for quite some time. So I like the idea that she's really nobody's friend, that she's really doing this on her own and handling herself on her own. And she wants to kill Obi-Wan along with Vader. And I think that's something really fantastic. So I really appreciate and dig the motives behind Riva in here. But look, we get the opportunity to see Obi-Wan thinks maybe she can help him out. Hey, if you want to get your revenge, use me as your distraction. He'll be focused on me. And that's when you get that opportunity. And listen, I do wonder if Obi-Wan knew that this is the situation that was going to happen, right? Because he even mentions you can't defeat her on your own, sort of thing. Like, you're definitely going to go ahead and need my help or some sort of distraction. Vader's ready for it, though. I mean, there's really not much Vader isn't ready for. So to kind of see him not surprised didn't surprise me in here, but it did lead to just an incredible battle, to certainly say the least, man. But for me, Ewan McGregor continues to shine in this season. His listening to Reva talk about the idea that he left people behind, allow children to certainly get killed. There is a sense of guilt and burden that continues to build onto Obi-Wan as he just kind of remembers and just is reminded countlessly of his failures. You know what I mean? Like, it just makes me understand, or I can see how Obi-Wan could fall into that trap and that mindset of truly becoming a hermit and not really want to get involved and just literally like dealing with the trauma of certainly what happened with Order 66 and what he's been dealing with being alone over the past 10 years. Like, it weighs on him. And I think Ewan McGregor does an incredible job in showcasing that and really bringing life to the struggles of Obi-Wan. And I think that's, again, I think that's one of the reasons why, for me, Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite character when it comes to Star Wars, because I think Ewan McGregor just does a fantastic job of really adding layers to him. And most of the time, even without saying anything. And it's a perfect example in the very last sequence of this episode where Reva, who again survives, crawls over and winds up finding the damaged communicator between Obi-Wan and Bail Organa, listens to the message, and as she's listening to it, something in the Force changes. Something in the Force changes, and Obi-Wan feels it. And he does not like the feeling. You know what I mean? And so just the look of worry, the close-up shot of Ewan McGregor's eyes just kind of darting all over the place as he's in deep thought and contemplation and just worry that something bad has truly happened. And now Luke Skywalker, unfortunately, is vulnerable. So Ewan McGregor continues to just add layers and layers to this character without having to even say anything from time to time. And it just goes to show just some of the amazing performances that we have in here. I mean, Vader, Riva, and Obi-Wan are literally just stealing this entire show, and they're making it incredibly enjoyable, man. I'm loving every moment of this. So yeah, great stuff by Vader. We even had quick honorable mention to Tala's last stand in here. She winds up getting shot, uses a thermal detonator to go ahead and clear out half of the bunker. We even got Bail Organa in this episode too, with his worrisome video message suggesting the idea like, hey, I don't even know if you guys are alive. If you're not, I'll head over to Tatooine. I'll try and protect the boy myself, talk with Owen a little bit. The situation is extremely dire, and I really like seeing it all finally kind of come full circle that, not only is Leia in danger, but now you also have Luke to certainly worry about. You know what I mean? So good stuff, man. Good stuff in here. A quick other Easter egg. We did see countless numbers of lightsabers actually in this in the Safeway point over at Jabiim. I am curious if anybody recognized any of the lightsabers, if they made any connections to anybody. I definitely would like to know your guys' thoughts. So please go ahead and let me know yours in the live chat or the comment section box below after this video airs. And listen, at the end of the day, guys, these are just simply my A+ opinions. I always want to know yours, though. What did you guys think about this particular episode? Let your thoughts be known. And we'll definitely go ahead and continue this discussion throughout the week. Let me see. Let's see here. Marcelino Vasquez, I can now forgive the Grand Inquisitor's death because it was all part of Vader's plan. If they revealed Grand Inquisitor was hospitalized and didn't mention it until now, then I wouldn't forgive. Last episode, people were saying that Deborah Chow and the rest of the crew didn't understand and contradicted it. Episode 3, can you clarify? I don't even know what they're talking about, honestly. I really don't. I don't want a redemption for Riva. I like that her character wanted to kill Vader while also not turning to the light side. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that that she doesn't get one. It is Disney, though. They do tend to kind of do that. I actually, if I had my choice, there was a part of me before I got to the end of this episode that thought to myself, you know what, man, I would really like to see Vader go ahead and chop her down and this be like her final stand here. She had her shot, she had her chance. I am curious if Reva's mentality now going into the next episode is, am I capturing Vader in order, like, am I capturing Luke in order to bring him then to Obi-Wan? Or, I mean, am I capturing Luke to then bring him to Vader in a sense of like, hey, maybe you'll forgive me? Or does she want to go ahead and kill Luke in an attempt to maybe get back at Obi-Wan, right? And kind of finally, and maybe at least get a victory somewhere. I could be wrong. I could be wrong in that regards, but I definitely want to go ahead and see how her storyline winds up ending, because I do think that there's an opportunity here for a really good end off for her. And who knows, maybe we get ourselves another a battle between Obi-Wan and Riva to go ahead and end it off for him and him get a nice little lightsaber victory under his belt. But we'll definitely have to see. All right, guys. Other than that, as far as the clarification for the contradiction of episode 3, that I don't really know. Good old Cream Pie Lars. Okay, Cream Pie. Do you think Obi-Wan and Leia should end up together in the season finale? No, I mean, I think what? No. He's probably gonna find her some way to drop her off at Alderaan at some point in time. I personally would have had one of the actors who played the Mountain from Game of Thrones play the fifth brother instead of Sung Kang. I've actually liked his performance so far. I kind of appreciate the back and forth that those two have certainly had, the squabbling and the clash in between those two. So I'm pretty cool with Sung Kang, but I understand the idea of having somebody enormous like that in regards to the Mountain. But yeah, Marcelina, as far as your last episode, people were saying that Deborah Chow and the rest of the crew didn't understand and contradicted it. Episode 3. I don't really know what they're talking about here, but it does feel like for the most part, they're on their P's and Q's. They're dotting their I's, crossing their T's, really trying to do their best to not mess up canon as much as they possibly can. I'm sure there are always going to be some things that you probably can't avoid, or maybe some lines that you can kind of, from the original trilogy, you can maneuver around, sort of thing. But it's things like that that don't necessarily bother me unless they have a huge impact on really changing the entire narrative of what we gotten before. But if you ask me, I think 5 episodes in, they've done a pretty good job. But other than that, that's about it. But all right, man. Other than that, that's gonna do it for us here today. But we definitely will be back next weekend to go ahead and wrap up Obi-Wan Kenobi. Again, let me know your thoughts on this week's episode in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. But until then, do me a big favor, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. May the force be with you. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.